to the June 16th work session of the Troutdale City Council. We'll start with a roll call. Sarah?
Councilor Andrews?
Here.
Councilor Allen? Here. Councilor One? Councilor White?
Here.
Councilor Davidson?
Here.
Councilor Leamy?
Here.
Mayor Rittman?
Here. All right. We'll move on to our topic of the evening, which is a discussion about our Troutdale police options. And I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Mayor. After last night's PSWAG working group meeting, it was requested that we simplify our documents and present them in a fashion so it's side by side. So what you see in front of you is a 5-6 page package that starts out with the current Multnomah County contract exhibit appendix B. And then you turn the page and then you can see the revised appendix B for the 4.7 million. Under that, it draws out what the differences are between the first page and the second page. On the third page is just a breakdown of what's included personnel-wise in the Troutdale PD proposal. You'll notice that in the first one, there are 18 FTEs designated primarily. There's 16 of those designated primarily to patrol services and investigative work. So you're looking at 16 deputies. In the second one, you're looking at 13 deputies, 2 sergeants in that number, right? So 11 deputies, 2 sergeants. 2 of those deputies are detectives. In the Troutdale proposal, you have a police chief, a lieutenant, and then 2 sergeants and 8 officers. So if you want me to break it down for those that maybe don't have the packet in front of them. So I'll just restart for clarity for anyone online. So the way it sits today, Multnomah County Sheriff provides 2 sergeants, 11 deputies, 2 detectives, a community resource deputy, and 2 records technicians. Their proposal reduces the contract cost by approximately $1 million and reduces the number of deputies from 11 to 9 and removes the community resource officer and reduces the records technician by 1. The Troutdale proposal proposes a police chief, a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, 8 police officers, and then we have an administrative assistant and a record specialist part-time. Our proposal also included a code enforcement officer under that umbrella that's currently under that, so we carried that over. And it also included an evidence tech that didn't get accounted for but was still in the budget. So when you look at the limited budget, you'll see those 2 positions. So in total, you have 15.3 FTE in the Troutdale proposal. But a few of those are not sworn. So when we talk about just sworn officers, you're looking at 12 total sworn officers. And then the other 3 are admin assistants, specialists, and records. You can play with those as necessary. The next page in your packet, it was brought to my attention that finding out when officers are going to be on and what the shifts look like was difficult to understand over the staffing proposal that was done. So I just put it in a typical week of what a typical week schedule would look like, and you'll see the shift, the number of officers is in parentheses on during that shift. You'll see our strengths are going to be in the main hours between, 1300 and, midnight are going to be our busiest hours. And so we stack the schedule to have the most coverage during that period of time. So when you look at all these situations, sometimes you'll end up with multiple supervisors on throughout the day and coverage so that there's actual communication between supervisors and between shifts. There's a transfer day on Wednesday and Thursday for the lieutenant and chief to be able to transfer information about what's been transpiring before their shift started. So there's a little bit of carryover there. The sergeants A and sergeants B have a switch over so they can relay data as well. Schedule breaks it down for you. I also added what the risks might be given our shortfalls. Obviously, we have kind of a moderate risk because we have a single officer covering from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So there's a two-hour window there where you're going to have a single officer. Other moderate windows include like Monday night. So Sunday morning into Monday night, you have a window there, and then Monday night into Tuesday morning, you have a window there of some light risk on officer coverage. Otherwise, you're looking at 2 officers per shift, sometimes more. When we add the additional crossover between whether it's day shift and a late shift and a night shift, there's often a crossover on coverage, and then you'll see those numbers pop up. But I broke it down by 2-hour block, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going to be on at any given hour. In addition to that, we still had the staffing plan. I did some looking into it and did a couple little modifications here and there. I didn't have the chief carry over into Thursday on one of my analyses, so I put that in there because I think it works better when the chief is working 5/8, because then it allows some a little more administrative overlap and the opportunity for information passing. Other than that, that is a side-by-side comparison of the options that are put before us. The mayor asked that I explain the funding gap position, and so I also took a spreadsheet and I put in what our estimated tax revenue is projected to be for this year and future years through the year 2030. And then I put in just the police costs on the first 3 lines following the property tax revenue. And you'll be able to project that out over the next 5 years. And then down below in the next little quadrant, I put the cost for the Gresham fire contract and the 911 call services. And then the final segment there is the total cost for public safety with those 3 combined per line. And so the red, what you see underneath, is what we are finding ourselves short every year. And that's what funnels into the operating levy concept or the public safety fee that's currently being applied on our water. Is there any questions on any of that?
Questions?
What, how are we funding the code enforcer right now?
Through the general fund. It's still in that 171 fund, so it's still there. And that position is there as well as a portion of their immediate supervisor.
But it isn't included in the...
It is.
It isn't included, though, in the county
No.
numbers.
It's included in our numbers. So if you wanted to remove that and just go sworn, you would have to back up to the top section here, where you have the 2.178 million and the materials and capital outlay of 1.5 million. And so you'd end up with a operating cost for just the police side of the house at the 3.7 million for us. But our budget also includes 0.20 for management. Where is it? Just check that out. I don't want to misquote something here. Yeah, so it has 0.20 for the building code program manager, and 0.10 for the department director is in there as well. That's that 0.30. So that's like administration and overhead.
Where are we?
We're on the limited police one that looks like this on the bottom portion.
I guess I don't see a 0.10 or a 0.30 anywhere on the table.
Yeah, 1.30. So I'm talking about that 0.30 along with that one is, the 0.30 is made up by 10% department director and 0.2% building code supervisor. And you can see that reflected in your packet on page 15. You go into your packet that was provided online to page 15. You'll see the personnel that were included under 171 when we did our budget estimates. And you'll see the police evidence technician is at 0, but then if you go to the right-hand side, their salary is still in there. So that was a mistake on our end that was supposed to be pulled out. But it might leave some extra for overtime, shortfalls or other things, so. That position is allocated about 123,000. 851, and that's what you see on the page that was provided today.
Just to clarify, the FTE listed for that is 0, so does it not automatically calculate?
Because the FTEs are at different pay scales.
And then I'm noticing, just while we're on this page, the police operations line item for capital outlay on motor vehicle. There's an identical one to police management. Is this just meaning that we're having it in both sections, just clarifying?
Yes. So actually, there's more vehicles in the operating budget than there is the management. The management only has the 2 vehicles for the lieutenant and the chief. And then the police side has multiple vehicles for the officers.
Okay. Because in management, it is listing out 4. Motor vehicle says SUV 4, chief.
Yeah, 2 sergeants, chief, and a lieutenant. So part of what we were saying is there's a pretty big capital outlay in the first year to get ramped up. So we're trying to project those in there and make sure that we're accounting for that. And then that also leaves opportunity for future growth on personnel, because we aren't going to have those capital expenditures every year. But I would caution backfilling capital expenditures with personnel, because then you don't have the money to fill the infrastructure needs as they become available.
The schedule that you set out here, What'd you come up with?
Well, I plugged it in based on 4 squads, so you'd have 8 officers, so 4 shifts of 2, and then trying to figure out how I could spread it out over 7 days, 24-hour period of time. We get a little thin in the middle of the night, but I had to tweak some schedules. I was trying to do just 3/8 because 3/8 works perfect on a 24-hour clock system, but then we were ending up with an oddball overlap and wasted coverage in a couple locations, so I had to try a couple different scenarios. Then I tried everyone at 410s, and the 410s left very little management overlap in the week. There was only like 1 day for management overlap, the lieutenant and the chief, and then there was no overlap with the sergeants in the evening, and I wanted overlap with the sergeants with the lieutenant and the sergeants with the chief. And so I wanted to make sure there was communication overlap so that information would be able to be passed down from the shift supervisor to the department director. So I had to modify the schedule, and through a lot of trial and error, I think it literally took me some time of like trying to focus in and trying to nail that down to be able to get full coverage on it. Because at first, when we first started, I had some gaps, and I was struggling to figure out how I could fill those gaps given the scheduling. So the only way that it really started working well is when I started going to 410s, and then we'd have some overlaps here and there, and then it seemed to strengthen up our high demand time frame. So a little Google search on when high demands are on police coverage and try to shape the coverage around that.
Don't we have access to that data from police coverage?
I mean, we haven't had police in 10 years, so not really knowing what our...
Not our own police coverage, right? But I mean, Multnomah County Sheriff is still operating here, so don't we have that data or access to that
Probably
information?
access it through requests and things. I think that you can get your crime report.
No, please, go ahead. This is a work session, so it's pretty informal.
Have we looked at options for, I mean, you mentioned a couple times of gaps, I guess, in coverage. Have we looked at like Oregon State police supplemental coverage agreements or anything like that, since they're patrolling usually like 84 and that kind of thing anyway, especially since we have so many issues with the truck stop? That's like a high crime theft kind of.
Right. So right now, the proposal has full coverage, right? So there's not really any gaps in service, but there are risks, right? So the risks are where we're thin, or like somebody goes out sick, or someone has a child and they use organ leave or something to that effect. Then we get spread thinner, and that's where your risks come in on the model. And so addressing those risks with mutual aid agreements, whether it's with OSP or Multnomah County or City of Gresham, those things will have to be worked out once we go down that path. And as the sheriff explained at the PFAG meeting yesterday, is like if they don't have this contract, they're going to be very limited on what kind of services they can actually provide in that front. So just things to be cognizant of. But yes, there are opportunities to strike agreements with other agencies. One of the things that we had talked with was utilizing our Oregon Patrol Services, which is our security systems, our security group that does our parks and parking lots, to kind of fill some of those areas if we're running thin.
Yeah, they actually do police work.
Well, like I said, we've talked about how that might work. The way I would see that going is perhaps if a few of their officers were qualified for like a reserve officer role, then we could potentially have them on as a reserve officer to tap if we're short or if somebody goes out on vacation, something like that. But I haven't explored that in depth.
Hey, Mike, did you consult with any police professionals in creating the schedule, or talk to anybody about like things that potential pitfalls with what you came up with, or other options by chance?
I kind of put it together using my experience managing the King City Police Force and how we were able to manage some of those shortfalls. We also had a mutual aid agreement with Washington County, so if there was ever a situation where we were not able to have coverage, which was often the hours between 2 and 6 a.m. or 2 and 5 a.m. typically, we had a mutual aid agreement with Washington County to oversee that. So I have a little bit of experience on operating a local police force, a small local police force with limited resources. And so taking that as well as what we had prior, that provided a lot of information for us when we look at what our budget is going to come down to, as well as what typical expenses are in any given year. And then it's just a matter of calendar scheduling to make sure that our resources cover the clock. And Councilor One, there was a study done by a former police chief that we based a lot of this off of. The difference between what he was proposing and we're proposing was like a couple detectives. It was like 16 total was his proposal. And I just think where we're at right now, that's a little more than we can afford at the moment until we get up and running and maybe get ticket revenue and get some grants going. And a lot of this stuff, if this is the path that the council wants to go down, a lot of those things need to grow organically once we get the base started. We're not going to have a lot of those things right off the bat. We need to get contracts in place, we need to get services in place, and we need to get our revenue streams going to augment some of the other expenses.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna start by apologizing for missing the meeting on yesterday, and I have not returned the sheriff's phone call due to being on vacation. But did you guys talk about what responsibility Multnomah County has to the city of Troutdale at baseline if we have our own police department, and what kind of, again, either patrolling or services the citizens get again at baseline?
It's a good question. We didn't go in depth to discuss it. I think there's some considerations to think about when we go down that pathway. The sheriff's mandated with public safety of Multnomah County. That's kind of their mandate. They have certain obligations under that. So the struggle becomes resources. Where are the resources located at? What kind of resources are at their disposal? And what level of mutual aid is actually available? I think those are all questions that the sheriff has expressed concerns over. With the loss of the contract, they're concerned that they won't have very many of those deputies available.
Yeah, well, I think that, okay, one of my concerns with that statement, just again, I'm just talking out loud. One of the concerns is that what I'm hearing through the lines is that if we cancel this contract, Multnomah County as a whole is going to be severely, or could be potentially severely punished because they're lacking resources now. Where the resources that are provided to us through this contract should be for Troutdale only. I don't feel like anything that we're doing in Troutdale with the current Multnomah County contract should be used as resources for the rest of the county. So we shouldn't be supplementing the county. We should be only using the resources that Troutdale pays for Troutdale. And I kind of feel like that statement makes me a little bit frustrated to hear. And I don't want us to feel pressured to like keep the Multnomah County contract when potentially the Troutdale, our own police department, while yet potentially small in the beginning, could be a bigger advantage for Troutdale down the road.
Just to comment on that, I think realistically, if we're relying too much on mutual aid as it is, it's a flawed setup. I know we will have to make kind of a transitionary period, but like realistically, we should be aiming to support ourselves through this whole plan if we're really going to make it count. I think the entire point of moving to our own police is not necessarily just about the money, which is substantial given our general fund and the position that we're in. I think it's also largely about control. And I think that is kind of what our community has voiced, is having a little bit more of a say in kind of where we get coverage, what is being addressed in our community, people that are grounded in our community. The services that we've gotten are great, but I mean, to that end, I mean, if we're in a position now where those services, even through the modified version, are gonna be cut back, then we have to think realistically about what we're getting for what we're paying. And if we're gonna go this route, then we gotta make sure that we're not straining, resources with Multnomah County by relying too much on mutual aid anyway. Just on that note on grants, what kind of grants are we looking at right now?
There are like some Homeland Security grants, there's federal grants, there's police services grants for officer training, things of that nature. You have to have foundation started and start going for some of those aspects. I think when we were in King City, I think we would probably go after a couple $1 million in grants, but most of the time it was to augment extra police officer.
Right.
Or like growing your police force, some of those things.
But just right up where we're needing it.
Or like an extra squad car, or additional shields, or body armor, things of that nature. You can get some law enforcement grant money and start feeding your own program. Yeah. Kind of chase those dollars.
Sure. I mean, I would hope that's what we're going to be doing, because I mean, realistically, if we're looking at 12 officers plus some core staff. I mean, if we can get even a couple extra officers through grants, like grow that up, I mean, that'd be a huge difference for a small force, just to punch up a little bit more. We looked at like Oregon Criminal Justice Commission.
I haven't dove into it, not yet. Anyways, this is why a lot of those questions get answered once we start going down the path, right? Bring on the chief, bring on the lieutenant, get your general orders, get your policies going, start working on your framework, start applying for grants, start going down that pathway on having those administrative folks working those angles, and then start growing it from that sense.
I mean, I don't want to come across as impatient. I know there are certain things, don't put the cart before the horse, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like with so much riding on our move in public safety that we should really be trying to like cover all the bases that we can as early as we can, including looking up grants, looking up whatever money's on the table for us to basically throw in the pot, so we can figure that in and not have to ask our community for as much money if we can get it covered responsibly on our end. That's where I'm coming from.
Comments?
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm in favor of, at some point, bringing back our I'm wondering if this is the time for us to do it. If maybe we wait off until we deal with the fire. So it seems like in order to ramp up is gonna cost a lot of money. Necessarily have. And I'm a little concerned about the wages that we're paying, projecting. It's looking like Multnomah County's paying twice the amount for a police officer. They're at 268, we're at 132, and then their sergeant is making 336, and we're offering 100. So I'm just thinking,
Where are you at, John? I'm trying to figure out.
Hey, Mike, in those projections that John just mentioned, I think are important. Does the county's proposal, is that in, or does ours also, my question do those numbers include like benefits and health insurance and stuff like that? Or are we missing one of them?
It includes the benefits and the backside as well. So you can
Okay.
see what the salary is being offered in the limited budget. So if you flip the page and go over to the police officer, well, I guess. One second. Just do a quick math problem here really quick. So you're looking at 95,000 per officer is what's being budgeted. Seems like a reasonable number to me.
Is that what's the average out there now? Because if we offer lower, who's gonna wanna come to Troutdale to make lower income versus what they're making now?
Well, that's just it. I can't afford Portland or my minimum wages. Troutdale's not 3 million people.
Well, I get that, but realistically, if you're supporting a family, why would you leave, say, MCSO to come to Troutdale and make?
I would think that $80,000 to $100,000 in salary plus benefits is a living wage.
You're just gonna be a springboard, though. You're gonna,
John, can you finish what you were saying? Because I didn't think you quite finished. So you were saying that their cost of FTE is a lot higher than ours.
Yeah, what we're showing on theirs is 336,590, and we're offering 188,400 versus 5, so that's like 60% of it. And then on their sworn officer, deputies are 268,12, and we're offering 132,993. It's gonna be hard to get somebody at those salaries, and I'm just in my mind thinking maybe we should look at their proposal temporarily. We work through the fire thing, and then we have plenty of money in the system. Start our own police department. And pay a comparable
I'm just gonna say,
salary.
as a smaller city, you're not expected to, nor is it smart to pay the same wages as a larger organization. And yes, there will be aspects of a revolving door because you're going to get officers that are dying to get a chance out of the academy or maybe even through the academy. And they're here for 2 to 5 years and then get an opportunity to go take another job. But you're also going to get officers that are happy being put in having a job in a smaller community where they don't have to deal with the Portland nuisance or the other large city nonsense, right? You're not going to want to deal with the Gresham issues or the Portland issues. So I think that there's a mix of people in this world that run the gamut from I like my small town to I want to get the hustle and bustle and the most pay I can get. So I've had the luxury of seeing both, right? Running King City's police, we were revolving door for some, but others made it a permanent home because it balances the family life dynamic a lot better, and we offered more response to that. So I'm not discrediting that there will be a portion of a revolving door in this, but I would argue strongly against having to pay the same wages as a much larger city. We just can't do it. But we can certainly compete with the Malalas and the Sandys and the King Cities of the world, and we can definitely poach from other agencies, just like we'll get poached from as well. It's an unfortunate aspect of this business is it's a dog-eat-dog world. So it's going to happen.
But I can, if I work for MCSO, I can work Corbett and make this much money. I'm not dealing with Portland, I'm not dealing with Russia. I'm dealing with Corbett and I'm making big bucks. So.
Maybe unless your lieutenant signs you downtown, right?
Well, and I'm not expecting we're gonna poach from CSI. I'm not expecting that.
I know the sheriff requires a 4-year degree too, and Troutdale didn't. You could have an associate degree. It's definitely a safer environment, I think, than, Chinatown at midnight or even having to be on max and stuff like that. And we never had problems hiring people, and we had longevity with our police force. So I don't think it's a problem. I think even with our own staff, we don't have a lot of attrition. People move on. We've had the same people for a long time.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
Well, and John, your suggestion that now might not be the time, we might wait till we deal with the fire first. It's worth discussing at a workshop like this. I mean, it's the way I see it, we are out of money. We're just plain old out of money. I was surprised, I don't know how many people were surprised, but I was surprised to learn really last night that the entire take from property taxes in Troutdale is allocated to police and fire, all of it. And the way we fund everything else is deficit spending right now, and we just can't keep doing that. We need to do something. We started the utility fee, none of us were happy about it, but that's saving us for the moment. But dealing with the fire issue, which isn't the topic for tonight, but it's an interesting idea. If we were to join a fire district as a city, our general fund would no longer have to fund fire services. It would be paid for by the taxpayers on a separate line item in the taxes that wouldn't be taxed by Troutdale. And that could take years to get through the voters, but it's certainly going to take a couple of years at the very least. So one of the worries I have about waiting, there's no perfect time to start up a police department, but the numbers are dire and we need to do something. And starting a police department does look like an option that would cost less. It does carry risks. Pointed that out. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're at. We're going to have to sell these ideas to the voters, and I guess I'm worried about waiting when we are in such, we're in the red so much. I don't see much advantage, but it's worth thinking about. I had not really, I mean, originally, when 2 years ago, we were gonna join we meaning Troutdale, Woodville Village and Fairview, we're gonna join Clackamas District 1 under contract and then hope to annex in. And we all know what happened. We're in discussions about maybe forming a new fire district and other things that are, I don't want to get into that tonight, but at that point, there was some hope of, if we joined Clackamas 1, our general fund budget from property taxes would be relieved of the fire services contract, and we could afford a police department. That didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen right away. So we, I mean, there's never going to be a time when there's a pile of money left over, but it's worth thinking about. I guess I'm more inclined to want to go forward with the police department, but there's a lot to think about here. I did have a question, Mike, that in the 26-27 numbers on your page, the total cost with the Troutdale proposal is higher by, $1.5 million or something, and I assume those are startup costs. I wanted to ask.
You're talking in the 26-27 year?
Yeah.
Yeah. It includes the overlap, so there would be significant capital improvements and overlap with Multnomah County contracting that would create probably close to $1 million, if not more,
Yeah.
of an overlap in year one. So you certainly have to take that leap of faith and that initial hit in order to get it established, and that's always the scary part of a new enterprise, right? So
I agree. And after that, the Troutdale proposal is less each year, but that is a worry and something we need to think about. And whenever we do it, there's going to be startup costs. There's no question about it. So anyway, other comments?
I agree with you. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, we wait. I mean, granted, I think it's a good idea to maybe consider a hybrid approach, right? If you're going with the revised for the first year only, with enough time to really fully ramp up, maybe that might be something worth looking at. But I mean, realistically, it's going to cost if we wait and we let things play out the way they are right now. We're looking at an additional, if we're going with the revised, we're looking at an additional almost $9 million cost us to almost 17 million if we don't change anything at all. Like it's just untenable. We just can't afford it. It comes down to it. That savings would be coming into play like going full speed ahead right away. So, I mean, even, I think doing a hybrid, we'd still be saving like $5 million, I think, but the difference between the first, almost, it'd be like $5 million if we did that hybrid approach. Meaning revise the first year and give us enough time, 12 months, to basically fully get up and running with the $1 million or so startup cost plus whatever we're paying for contracted. But, I mean, that'd be the closest possible thing I could think to something that would make sense with what you were saying, John, in my opinion.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what we're doing. We're gonna take the revised sheriff's proposal for the coming year while we try to start up a police department. I don't know if that's hybrid, if that's what you're referring to.
that's up to you. I want to be very clear.
Right. That's the way the budget committee proposed to us, and our adopted budget does budget. That's true. The decision hasn't been made, but it's sort of that approach where we would continue to contract services from the county while we hire a chief. And that'll only happen when we decide as a council to do that. But that's the decision point that we're at.
So question, just for clarity for anybody who's listening as well to understand this. So when you call BOAC, you're paying right now, is that the same charge is that included in the MCSO or is that a separate?
Separate charge.
So we're paying for BOAC separately now,
Yes,
so that wouldn't change.
that's correct.
The only thing that would change is that they would direct Troutdale Police versus MCSO.
Correct.
That doesn't make any sense, that it wouldn't change though. It's like, to me, like with the call volume, if we're not handling like from calls getting routed, like we should put in a review for like tiered pricing review or something like that and like have another look at it, because that just doesn't compute to me that that would not be a reduced cost if we're just focused in on our like city limits, right?
Actually, I think the way the BOAC charges work, it's the citizens of Troutdale making calls for service. That won't change whether it's our police or the county.
So that is what we're paying right now.
I don't see why it would change. It
Theoretically.
really wouldn't change it. BOAC has.
I don't know, we should look at it.
It might change, it might not. Like, it's.
We can always ask for a discount or something, but they're not in the mood usually.
We're just assuming worst case scenario.
I mean, yeah, because I think I wrote a note here, like whether CAD-to-CAD integration agreements with Gresham could potentially allow some dispatch to be absorbed. And I'll take some of that off if it comes down to it. Needing a computer-assisted dispatching.
Now, but Gresham uses BOAC as well, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine we're all part of the same. But yeah, I mean, when you're talking like mutual aid agreements that, yeah, if our officer's sitting here, they're gonna respond and help out. That's what the mutual aid agreements
Exactly.
are for. And then when we have a bad day and we need help, we can raise the flag and call for help, you know?
Yeah, and I'm thinking of our other neighbors over here. We got Fairview, Wood Village, you know, like just if stuff's getting, if we're looking at like even, you know, like a detective IGA or something like that for bigger police forces, like some resources like that we can look to basically more evenly split and distribute with cities who are literally in pretty much the same boat when it comes down to it, you know. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's good thinking outside the box.
Well, and you know, like Victoria mentioned yesterday, is if there's a huge disaster and police are gonna come, I think borders aren't gonna matter because they go to Sandy when we had issues with Troutdale, when we had years and years ago, the police shooting, it wasn't just Troutdale that showed up, and when we had lots of other police departments showing up. So I would assume that if we needed something major that they'd show regardless. I just think they would. But I don't know what that looks like financially. I have not a clue. But when you're talking about contracting, in your experience, what does the contracting piece price kind of look like?
It looks very similar to what they have on their sheet. So it would just be like per hour, that divided by 2,080. And hey, we're gonna be short next Saturday. We work out an agreement for some coverage for a couple days, or have got an officer going out for a month. Is there a way that you can contract for a shift here or there? Now, the struggle with that is, are they going to have the resources on their payroll to do it? And then the other option is you have reserve officers that you pull in as a temporary hire for a short-term temporary hire to fill that role. Those were kind of what we would do in our shortages. We have about 8 minutes before.
Yeah, I realize we are breaking off the work session for you meeting and starting at 7, which won't take too long, but the comments, questions from anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, I don't like the idea of putting the code enforcer in the police budget. Has nothing to do with police. That's a building code enforcement. It's always been paid for out of the building. I think it used to be. It's been 10 years. Eric's shaking his head no. But, you know, they just got a whole new revenue stream too, quite recently, quite a healthy one. So I'd rather see that stay in the building department myself. It gives us, we'll have more police coverage. One of the big gaps I see in all these proposals is Glen Auto Park. It's, last weekend when it was 100 degrees out, it was a free-for-all out there, you know, and it's a problem that's only gonna get worse. We don't have some eyes on the situation down there, and it becomes quite dangerous for a lot of people.
Do we have some kind of security that we hire? I mean, you've referenced it, but.
They show up at night. They do a sweep of the park at night.
But not during the day?
Can't say that for sure. Mike would.
They're there. Yeah, we
Are they on the beach?
we have one, yeah, they do walk down to the beach, and then they also do the Sharon Nesbitt Park. At night, they cruise around to all of our parks, Sunset, Columbia, Glen Auto, Sharon Nesbitt, and do sweeping patrols. And if they find folks trying to camp out or something in our parks, they usually try to get them out of there.
It was pretty bad this weekend, last weekend, but
There's
also,
more traffic.
it was packed. And illegal parking and everything else, you know, it's crazy. Also, I don't think you guys realize that our citizens can't afford to take on the cost of police. They can afford the gap difference, but to erase being paid from property tax, go directly to the citizens, I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think they're gonna vote for it, and it's gonna put us in a really bad situation.
Are you talking about the operating levy? I did.
I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so you're talking, the way I heard you saying is, we would no longer fund police through the property tax money that we get.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
None of us ever, nobody's saying
Then
that.
I was misunderstanding.
No, the levy that was being discussed is only to cover this gap, the funding gap between what we can afford with property taxes and what the cost of.
Instead of the public safety fee that we currently.
In place of that $25 public safety.
But if we go
That
on
makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
we
what
go
it would
fire
be.
district,
Yeah.
and that takes it out, and that gives us the money for police.
Right, a fire district would be make a huge difference in our budget situation, but that isn't gonna be an easy sell. I mean, we haven't even convinced, we meaning Troutdale, Wood Village, and Fairview, that we're prepared to go to Clackamas District 1. Fire haven't even convinced Gresham that it seems obvious to me that it's a good deal, or the best deal anyway. Gresham is not convinced, and it won't work. We will not be able to join a fire district if Gresham and the unions all oppose it. Anyway, we just need to step back. I don't want to get too much into fire because that's not the topic, but Zach had a comment.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify, code compliance isn't the same as just building codes, right? Because they do like parking, they do other like city code violations essentially overall, so they do currently more than just like building inspection. It's yeah, I remember on planning commission, we had to, updating codes and stuff like that, it's a officer that goes around and basically will issue citations if things are not getting taken care of, fence height even. That kind of thing.
MCSO does not do code compliance here in Troutdale now. So including it in the budget is maybe what Glenn was talking about.
I think
It seems a little, it makes the budget not look as, it's not apples to apples.
Yeah, I tried to put it below the 3.7 and add it, just so I didn't confuse the numbers for you, because you've seen the total for us is the 5,009,000 number as being all included for us. But in that is the BOAC and the code enforcement officer and the records technician and the, or evidence technician and those sort of things. So I just wanted to call those out so you're aware that while they're in the proposed limited budget, they're not necessarily an apples to apples comparison, but if you pull those out, and on that page I provided, you can see we're at about 3.7, they're at about 4.7. We're shorter a few officers. As Councilor Leamy pointed out, we're not proposing to pay as much. Our officers would be based off of similar sized cities as Troutdale, and that's a reasonable rate for us to be able to pay.
All right, well, we're almost at 7, so I will pause this meeting while we go to a Urban Renewal Agency meeting, which I'll open at 7 in 2 minutes. If anyone needs it to run for food or a break, do it. All right, I'm going to call to order the June 16th regular meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Troutdale. Sarah, please call the roll.
Sure. Director Andrews.
Here.
Director Allen. Here. Director One.
Present.
Director White.
Here.
Director Davidson.
Here.
Director Leamy.
Here.
Chair Whitma.
Here. All right, we do have public comment. This is public comment on non-agenda and consent agenda items, which is welcome at this time. It's public comment on agenda items will be taken at the time the item is considered. Public comment should be directed to the presiding officer and limited to matters of community interest or related to matters which may or could come before the Urban Renewal Agency. Each speaker shall be limited to five minutes for each agenda item unless a different amount of time is allowed by the presiding officer. And the agenda for this meeting is to adopt budget resolutions that are required by law. So I will open it to public comment before the Urban Renewal Agency. Anyone on Zoom? I'm not seeing anybody. Anybody in the room? All right. I will close public comment and I'll move on to the consent agenda. And Jeffrey, if you're there, do you want to handle it? Oh, it's Jesse. Sorry, not Jeffrey. Jesse, if you're there, please read the consent agenda.
Yep, it's just going to take me a second here as I call it up. It looks like the consent agenda is 3.1 minutes, January 13th, 2026, the Urban Renewal Agency regular meeting. I make a motion that we approve.
All right, please call the roll.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm a little out of order. Director Davidson.
Yes.
Director Leamy.
Yes.
Director Andrews.
Yes.
Director Allen.
Yes.
Director One.
Yes.
Chair Whitma.
Yes?
Director White.
Yes.
All right, that's adopted. We'll move on to agenda item number 4.1, a resolution adopting the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Troutdale annual budget, making appropriations. Eric.
Good evening. Thank you for convening the Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 7. Local budget law requires us to publish in the newspaper and lead time and so forth. We published the date and time as required, and then the council chose to schedule a work session. So we couldn't move this meeting, so I apologize
Sorry.
for the mechanics, but similar to the meeting last week, public hearing on the resolution to consider adoption of the Urban Renewal Agency budget that was approved by the Budget Committee. Was approved on the second night of our meetings back in April. There's been no changes to the budget as it was approved by the Budget Committee and was then published on the required UR1 forms and publication in the newspaper, as well as notice of the public hearing. And with that, Mr. Chair, I was going to say Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to address any questions if there are any on the budget.
And we technically don't have to call a public hearing on these either.
You need to have a public hearing on the budget resolution, yes.
And that's this one.
Correct.
4.1, okay. Anyway, questions from the agency members? If none, I don't have any. I'll open a public hearing. This is a public hearing considering adoption by the Urban Renewal Agency of a resolution adopting the Urban Renewal Agency's, the City of Troutdale's annual budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2026-27. Anyone online wish to participate in the public hearing? Seeing anyone? How about here in the room? Anyone wish to participate in this public hearing for the Urban Renewal Agency? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And if there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we pass a resolution adopting the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Troutdale's annual budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
I'll second.
Okay, Sarah, call the roll.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Leamy,
Yes.
Director Andrews,
Yes.
Director Allen,
Yes.
Director One,
Yes.
Chair Ritma,
Yes.
Director White.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And we'll move on to 4.2, a resolution imposing and the declaration of the tax increment for fiscal year 2026-27.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is the second part of the required adoptions to complete the budget process for the Urban Renewal Agency for this year. This was the same resolution or same motion that the Budget Committee approved back when it approved the budget. This provides for what is known as the division of tax increment, which is how urban renewal agencies receive their property tax revenues. The estimated revenue for receipt of those property taxes were incorporated into the budget that was just adopted. And this is another resolution that's required by the county assessor as part of the completing the budget process so that they are then able to do the division of tax for us when they calculate tax rolls in October. Happy to answer any questions. You don't technically need to do a public hearing on this resolution, but of course this is Troutdale, so.
My public comment, but are there questions? Any questions? All right. Well, we're going to be voting on a resolution imposing and the declaration of the tax increment for fiscal year 2026-27 for the Urban Renewal Agency. So I will invite public comment if there is any on this matter. Anyone online? All right, seeing no one. Anyone in the room? Okay, I don't see anyone, so the matter's before us.
We pass a resolution imposing I move that we pass a resolution imposing the declaration of the tax increment for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
That, Sarah? Okay, please call the roll.
Chair Davidson, excuse me.
Yes.
Director Davidson. Director Leamy,
Yes.
Director Andrews.
Yes.
Director Allen.
Yes.
Director One,
Yes.
Chair Ritma,
Yes.
Director White.
Yes.
All All right, thank you, Eric. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a few minutes, I don't want Dave to get the record.
Unless somebody seconds it, yeah.
John seconded it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. I don't think the record would. That was for
That is
city,
a record.
that was a city council
I
meeting.
know, but you got the one for URA just
All
now.
right, well, it's about time. Anyway, that, I think our Urban Renewal Agency meeting is concluded, and we will now return to the work session, the discussion of Troutdale police options. And I would entertain any further comments. I mean, this is a big deal for us.
Yeah, can I just throw it out there?
Go ahead.
From my standpoint, as city manager of Troutdale, you have three options to choose from on your plate right now. And in order for us to make any clear path forward, we need the council to give us clear direction on what that might look like. And I know that this is a tough decision. I know that you are weighing taxpayer input as well as service models that are laid out before you. And I think you have three viable proposals in front of you. Probably the easiest thing for me and the staff is to continue on with Multnomah County, right? That's by far the easiest path laid out in front of us because it's already set up. However, you as electeds need to consider what your residents are asking for. And you know that, you received that feedback, and we are here to enact whichever direction you choose. So hopefully we've given you some viable options to consider, and with that, I'll hand it off to you guys and try to answer questions or seek out data as you need it. I would just ask if we make a decision, we make a clear decision and start moving in a direction, whatever that direction might be. And I know this is a work session, so I wouldn't be asking for that now, but we would need to move steadily in one direction without changing directions once we get started. Because I would hate to get into a position where I put out a job announcement for a chief and a lieutenant, and I get positions rolling and then have to turn around and change directions and go back. So it's kind of like we're jumping all in or we're jumping out. And Councilor Leamy's point with the fire district, we just don't know what that's gonna look like. But if we are able to get in a fire district, that solves a lot of our problems. And to the mayor's point, when you look at the spreadsheet that I handed you, even if you're able to get all the fire district out of our general fund, you're able to pay all three service models through the next 5 years at least. So just putting information out there for you to consider as you approach a decision on this direction.
I did have a question.
Yes, Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, will this be a union shop, so to speak?
I have no doubt that it will be. It won't start that way, but it will get there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. It will be. And I mean, I'm pro unions in a way. I've benefited from the unions for years with my parents, myself. And I know we get real healthy raises every year. And it sometimes leaves the employer, quote unquote, kind of on the hook to just pay at the whim of the contract negotiations. I just would express my concerns about the unknown on this. We know what Multnomah County is going to cost us. And I think they do a wonderful job for us. I'd love to see them in Troutdale more, of course. Will the Troutdale police provide better service for our citizens. I don't think you can argue with that. I do have some concerns about what it's going to cost the citizens ultimately. I know you did a great job with King City and putting this together, Mike, so I want to say thank you. Um, but it's with anything government, I feel it's going to cost twice as much and take 3 times as long, you know. Um, so I guess I just want to express that.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard to make a decision, truly.
Oh, yes. And, you know, with any big decision, you know, you got to weigh, you know, the what ifs. And I think we know the what ifs if we stick with Multnomah County and, you know, costs go up, you know, but the what ifs for Troutdale Police, it could get expensive really quick and put us in an even worse situation than we are with Multnomah County. And that's my greatest fear. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I feel like it needs to be addressed that the risks are much higher with going with Troutdale Police Department versus Multnomah County. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that just needs to be said, because that's my greatest fear is we say, hey, we need this. This is going to be great for us. And 2-3 years down the road, we're in a worse spot than we are now. So I don't, yep, that's all I got. So.
Well, thanks, Jesse. That's great, because that's exactly what we're all worried about too. My sense is that the citizens of Troutdale would be favorable to restarting the Troutdale Police. If it costs less, that's good. I think if it costs the same, they still would be favorable. That's my instinct, but I can't prove it. We are likely to go forward with a levy. That'd be a 5-year levy that's allowed under Oregon law. The amount, and we probably need to determine it before the summer break even. If we're gonna go, we need to file the deadline sometime sometime in July. So we're gonna have to decide that. We can't tie it to, you know, if the levy passes, we'll start a police department, because we don't know the answer to that. We can't do that. We could promise that we would eliminate the fee, the public safety fee that's on everybody's water bill that nobody likes. That we could do, but we can't go beyond that. So we're gonna have to make this forward with a police department decision soon. It doesn't need to be before we do it. We're gonna need that to put a levy on the ballot, whether we go forward or not with a police department. I mean, really, it's necessary.
As you said last night, we can always have a period of time we can pull the levy.
We could even pull it, yeah, but anyway,
Do we need, no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Do we need to survey the people? We need to do some sort of survey and find out what the people want. We're assuming they wanted to bring it back, but I also see a lot of people that don't want to bring it back. Well, I think there are people that never had it.
There was a survey that a couple of the news stations did, and it did show that they were favorable in bringing Troutdale back. I think I texted like the,
AATU, I thought,
yeah.
one, and maybe KGW.
Bitcoin, yeah. And it was higher that they wanted Troutdale Police back.
And it doesn't really answer the questions we're raising. I wouldn't want to spend any money on a survey. I think we're being as public as we can be, that we're considering this. There was an article in the Outlook recently. It's been, I was interviewed on 2, I think it was, but Channel 2, one of the channels anyway. about it. And there was a, reporters here, it is, there's been articles in the Champion that it's under consideration. I frankly don't hear strong
Is
message of don't do it. I don't, and I don't know if anyone else does, but I mean, at the meetings, we do have people that are saying there's risks and cautioning, we got a good thing with the sheriff, and it's just no question we do. As far as the sheriff, if you just compare numbers of FTEs between the sheriff and the Troutdale Police Department, that isn't exactly a fair comparison, because the sheriff has other backup resources that we wouldn't have. And there's just no question that starting a police department is a bit of a risk. And that's the way I'm looking at it. And I keep hearing things, but anyway, but I'm thinking if we're going to do it, the way it's been laid out, kind of, I would say the budget committee laid out hiring a chief. We have a city manager who has some experience in this area, but not direct police experience, but forming a police department. And I think the stars are aligned for us to consider doing it. But I'm not dismissing John's sensible proposal that, boy, if we could join a fire district and free up some of our general fund, that would make it a lot easier. But I just don't see that happening very soon, and we need to do something soon. So anyway,
is it possible to put something in the Champion about a potential levy and to get public comment? Because I don't think there's no better way than to get people's opinion than asking how they feel about paying for more money.
yes, I think we can ask for people's opinion. I don't know if we actually put that in the Champion.
I don't know if we can make it now.
Well, we can't advocate for it because as a city, we're supposed to, as individuals, we can do all the advocating we want, saying vote yes on a levy, but
I think the general feedback from, everybody from the Budget Commission, meaning private citizens and a lot of the community members that have voiced their concerns in our public forums have been largely, you are implementing a service fee that we have no say in. It would be more fair to put it out there to let us have at least the choice on it and go from there. So, yes, it's a tough breakdown, but when you look at, again, just the level of variables and uncertainty also in the numbers that we are looking at, even the revised plan with MCSO, 6% escalator on that, you're looking at, what is that, in 7 years, I forget that math, but 6% escalator, that's not necessarily up to the powers that be now, right? That can change the board's decisions pretty much year to year if needed. There's still a lot of the people that have voiced concerns with moving to, or with staying with the sheriff were mostly kind of based out of fear and listening to, well, then we don't have a SWAT team. If something horrible happens, well, it goes back to IGAs, looking at mutual aid, looking at, we're all in Multnomah County, if something serious happens, I would hope and think that, if resources are available, things get worked out in that sense and we can go from there. But I think the other public comment that stuck with me was training. You have the level of training and expertise with MCSO currently, and there's concern over what that's going to look like with our own police. But again, if we're looking at basically kind of a split, kind a split off from the rest of the county in that sense, and just looking at our town and what we're dealing with and the kind of officers that we're looking to attract and bring in. And he said there's going to be a portion of a revolving door. There are like pros and cons to everything, and it does make it tough. But I think that the path that we're looking at, as far as really ramping up on our own, but taking that necessary kind of bridge time at a reduced rate, realistically, with the amount of closer to the amount of officers on that we would be having, but aren't specifically dedicated to us like our own police force would be, then that would be a little bit of a better comparison anyway.
So we, Zach, you brought up if the SWAT team was called to something like that. Is Multnomah County going to provide their SWAT team to us for free?
They can't be taxes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I don't think so.
We're in Multnomah County and we do pay Multnomah County taxes, so we're entitled to some of the sheriff's resources, but I don't know. That's a specific question.
And I know Jeffrey mentioned the same thing. Is I feel like in order to make an informed decision, we need to know what is covered and what is not. Is it possible to get that information?
What is covered by the fact that we pay county taxes? Is that what you mean? I don't think so.
Are you asking like what's included
Yeah.
in the contract that doesn't
Yeah,
exist?
what does, again, what is the county, what is the sheriff's office going to do for us since we pay Multnomah County taxes? Like, there are mandates that they have to provide service for us. And I want to know what that is, that baseline under what we're paying for. Because we are, in my opinion, this is something I never got the answer to when we were negotiating this current contract, not to revise the current contract. What do we get at baseline? What is the baseline service that the city of Troutdale gets from the county sheriff? Because they have to provide us with stuff. And I feel I never got the answer to that question. They never answered the question. So I sort of feel like currently we're paying more for the same. So the question is, and what I would want the answer to is, what if we have Troutdale has its own police department? What is the county doing for us on a daily and weekly and monthly and yearly basis? And I feel like that is a very reasonable question to ask. The county has to provide service for everybody in the county. City of Portland, Gresham, Fairview, Wood Village, Maywood Park, everything in Multnomah County. So what is that? I would like a specific answer. And like I said at the beginning, I wasn't at the meeting yesterday. Sheriff Morrissey O'Donnell called me, left me a message. I'm on vacation. I have not gotten back to her. I will ask this same question to her. But I think Jesse is right, is that for me personally, to make the best decision possible, is I need to know what the sheriff is going to offer us at baseline. What are they doing for us as a city? And if there is any sort of rhetoric within that says, hey, well, if you guys don't have us, then we have less resources, I think that is a cop-out, not to be with the kind of conversation. But like, they have to provide us with service. But whatever they're providing for us now is above and beyond what that should be. So that is, again, as direct as I can get.
To just kind of come in on the end. So if we were to have some kind of major event in Troutdale and it required multiple detectives from Multnomah County, the SWAT team, are we on the hook for, $250,000, $500,000 of resources? Or is that all covered for free? And is that a question for Ed, or how do we find the answer?
We would likely conduct our own investigation as far as we could. If it's a major crimes unit, that's gonna fall in the sheriff's office. If it's under, there's going to be jurisdictional lines that I'm not an expert in, and I'm not trying to claim to be an expert on any of this. I can get information on what transpires in other jurisdictions in this scenario, but the latest one in Sandy, I can guarantee that it's not Sandy police that are doing that investigation. It's probably Clackamas Major Crimes that are the ones handling that. There was Metro SWAT there in Sandy. There was Clackamas officers, Oregon City officers, Washington County Sheriff's deputies, Multnomah County Sheriff's deputies, all sorts respond to a critical incident, and all sorts are involved. When I was at King City and we had the Cedarman shooting, it was a cross-jurisdictional situation. There was a death that had transpired in King City. Our officer was directly involved in cordoning off the scene, isolating everything, getting the major, and waiting for major crimes to show up from Washington County to do the investigation. There was also the officer shooting that transpired down 99W, closer to Sherwood, so that was in Sherwood. Also, Washington County Major Crimes was spearheading that investigation. So you have this cross-jurisdictional cooperation on a lot of these scenarios, and I would imagine that those scenarios will still exist, even if Troutdale has their own police, and even if we don't.
There ought to be some way of finding out how mutual aid really works. I don't know if one city bills another for the times. I really.
Typically not, unless it's a special patrol or something like that.
Look, Jesse and Jeffrey, I think it's trying to pin down the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and the sheriff on what would or wouldn't be provided is not, it's not something, we're gonna have to reach a decision on whether to go forward without a definite answer to that, because we don't know what's going to happen, and we're not going to get an answer that's going to, it's been clear, I think, made clear to us that the sheriff's office will, in fact, be weakened, shall we say, or more limited if they lose a contract city like Troutdale.
Well, Dave, I just have to say, like, our contract should not affect them. Anything in our contract is for the city of Troutdale. And I'm very hard-lined on this. Anything that we have in our contract is for the city of Troutdale. It should not affect them. And I think any of that rhetoric is pretty damaging.
So you're asking the sheriff to speak on that issue when you already decided that it shouldn't affect at all? I'm just saying, to be reasonable and fair, it's not my inclination to put anybody on the spot with what they will or will not do in certain situations.
It should just be an answer to that question is all I'm saying. Like, I've been asking this since we were redoing the contract, and I just wanted an answer, and it's really hard to believe that we can't have an answer to that, and how them losing the Troutdale contract would affect them so severely that their services for the entire county would be affected. That is what I am saying. And we can agree to disagree, and that's fine. And if I don't get an answer, then it just makes this decision, I feel like, much harder, because I want to make sure that the people of Troutdale have all the answers to all the questions, and that they are going to be covered as best as possible.
Well, we do too. I mean, I'm in full agreement.
Shouldn't we also know what we're getting regardless? Like, what does that mutual look like?
Well, there'll definitely be an agreement that needs to be put into place prior to the jurisdictional transfer. So as we build up and ramp up, a lot of your investigations, domestic violences, things of that nature, your lower tier crimes are going to be investigated now. If it's a major crime, that's when you're going to have to call in the specialties that Multnomah County would be able to provide. Or maybe even it's a federal thing and you have to call the FBI in to do the investigation. But
I'm not sure that's done by written agreement. Just be, but go ahead, Glenn.
I was just gonna say that, it's not true that the contract only covers cost for Troutdale because it offsets their administrative cost, which is for the entire county budget. When we have a officer, they're charging us for partly for training and administrative coverage for all officers. But I just want to say in the past, before we lost Troutdale Police, there was a great spirit of cooperation. I can speak from, on the Sandy River when there was a drowning, for example, the first ones there were the Multnomah County dive team. And I don't see stuff like that changing because it's kind of inherent in these officers to want to serve the public and any way they can. It's the same thing with the state troopers. We don't see them very often, but they're out there. They patrol. We need more of them on the state level. I thought it was a great balance between the sheriff and our police. I'm hoping it makes their job easier. They don't have to rely as much on Troutdale, which is fairly mild crime city. It's not a dangerous place compared to other places that they're patrolling. I think if they can focus more where the hard crime's going on, that helps Troutdale and helps all our neighboring cities as well. You don't have to look very far, do you?
I think we're going to have to try to make a decision whether we want to go forward. Without a specific answer. We're just not, I don't think it's going to work that way. Exactly what we'll get. We are taxpayers of Multnomah County, and I certainly would hope that the sheriff's office will continue to back up Troutdale as they did in the old days. But, I can't prove it, Jeffrey, I can't prove it. And I think asking for proof is going to result in putting the sheriff on the spot, perhaps, and having him say that he won't
Sorry,
provide
Dave.
services. But
Dave, I'm sorry. I think that is a perfectly acceptable question. And I hope that I would think that the answer is yes, you guys pay Multnomah County taxes. We're going to be here for you and we provide these services. But I 100% would like an answer, and putting her, if you call that, put her on the spot, then yes, I would put her on the spot and ask that specific question directly. I don't think there's any problem with that. I think we need to.
How specific? You're one.
I think that these are very important questions to have before making this decision. That's all I'm saying. And I didn't get the answer before, and if I'm going to be making this decision, I need to have that. That's all.
All right. I guess I don't know exactly what you're looking, if you're not going in favor of forming a police department unless the sheriff is prepared to step up and provide X number of backup services, if that's your position, then that I understand. I suppose there's a reason why you haven't gotten an answer. It's not an easy question to answer. And it doesn't have to be easy, but it's quite theoretical depending on circumstances and the situations. And so if you're not satisfied to move forward, I mean, well, your position perhaps is that we just stay with what we've got, but I guess I'm.
Is there something, is this like an ed question? Legally speaking, what kind of services is the sheriff's department legally obligated to require? And just take it out of the sheriff's hands?
Actually, I don't know.
You could certainly pose it to the city attorney for sure. If you want the legal interpretation.
Yeah, how about if we do that and have the city attorney, and if the city attorney needs to contact the county attorney or the sheriff's department's attorney or the sheriff, and try to get an answer. And if that's fair enough, let's try it. Can we try that? You haven't gotten an answer any other way, so how about that?
I think that's a good idea. And, I'm sure some of it's just window dressing on her part, where she wants to, sell us her services, and if we get, some of that stuff for free, she doesn't want to tell us that because that would affect our answer. So I don't know. Hopefully someone out there has to know.
Okay, I'm okay with putting it to, all right, let's have our city attorney look into what is required to be provided in the way of services, sheriff's office to citizens of Troutdale, and try to get an answer more specifically from the sheriff's office and see how that goes. And we can always ask more. I think that's fair enough. I guess what I didn't want to do is call the sheriff up and ask her to respond to a question that wasn't posed before. I mean, Jeffrey, you're saying you did pose it before and you didn't get an answer, but anyway, if you're satisfied with that, are you, Jeffrey? Is that okay? We'll start with our city attorney.
I think that's a great idea, a great place to start. Like I said, I need to give her a call back and to do that. I don't want to be, I don't think this is something this isn't a decision to just hastily make. And so I want to make sure and have answers. So when someone poses a question, we are all like, we have asked 100% of the questions. We all feel very confident whatever decision is made is the right decision.
I know that question's been brought up before, Jeffrey, because I think PSAC, we brought up that on what's covered when we were looking at that years ago. And so I know that this is a question that has been out there for a while that still has not gotten an answer.
All right, that's reasonable.
I know this is a work session and all, I don't want to break format, but we do have a resource in the audience. I don't know what.
It happens that the sheriff's here, and apparently is prepared to say something on this point. The thing is, I don't want to open it up to start a whole. This is meant to be a council work session, but by the way, I'll mention this. The sheriff's attended practically all the meetings that we've had that deal with this very question in person, and it shows her great interest in the citizens of Troutdale and that our law enforcement decisions here. So, and I thank her for that. And our our chief deputy is here also and has been here at the other meetings too. So Sheriff, if you want to come up and say, address whatever, however you want to address it. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. All right, Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell, Multnomah County Sheriff. So last night I provided public testimony that also went into some of these questions, but I will start with respect to last year's county budget. The Sheriff's Office received about 7.5% of the entire general fund of the county budget. And the services required are law enforcement services in all of unincorporated Multnomah County. We also have contract cities, obviously you know right now, Troutdale, Wood Village, Maywood Park, and Fairview. We are responsible for civil process, so ensuring that court orders are served. An example would be a protection order. Our deputies are required to serve those protection orders and/or eviction orders through the courts. We operate 2 jails under that same 7.49% of the general fund, which is about $225 million. We're responsible as the sheriff for river patrol operations, so that is the response on the river, as well as 110 miles of waterway. We're responsible for dive team efforts. We're responsible for search and rescue efforts. So in that county general fund, those are the responsibilities that I am staffed for to ensure those services are taking place. With respect to the question around the FTE and the sergeant and deputies and detectives and the records tech, I'm using the most recent proposal that we provided if we were able to come to an agreement. If there isn't a contract with the city of Troutdale, those resources are eliminated, and so either those would be absorbed into any additional vacancies. I will say I'm probably one of the only agencies that's very close to full staffing right now. But we would not have the budget in the $225 million, 7.49%. I know it will be a little bit different in this next budget cycle, but we haven't received all the budget documents yet. But it's always around that percentage. The positions that are assigned in this contract are eliminated if this contract goes away, because I don't have general fund to cover an additional 14, 17 FTE. So those are the first questions. The other question was around, I want to discuss mutual aid. Just that there's been discussions about Troutdale's ability to just simply contract out for specialty teams, specifically mutual aid through intergovernmental agreements, while not maintaining a current contract for policing services through the Sheriff's Office. And I do expect everybody to go when there is an emergent situation and we're managing a crisis. And all of our members do that proudly to serve all of Multnomah County. That said, mutual aid agreements, they're a vital safety net for those types of extraordinary crises or other high-risk public safety events, but they're not a substitute for dedicated staffing, investigative capacity, supervisory oversight, or daily patrol operations. So that is part of what I provided yesterday. The other thing I would like to highlight is, and some of this I also mentioned in the testimony, that in this building currently assigned uniform staff, over 60 uniform staff are assigned to this building. There are lieutenants, both day and swing shift, on call 24/7 to respond if there's an incident in any of our areas. We have a captain assigned also to on call and responds 24/7. We have our chief deputy of law enforcement here who's also assigned in this building. We always have 2 districts. If we go to the more cost-effective proposal, we are making some modifications to that, but all of those positions are always filled. We always have supervisory structure, 24/7, no gaps. We always have deputies assigned in our contract cities and in our jurisdictions, and that takes into account what I was also speaking about, that we don't necessarily expect the amount of leave And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is ensuring that your staff is adequately trained and within DPSST standards that takes them out of that patrol shift. Any sick time, any vacation time, paid leave, Oregon, family leave. That's an area that we continue to ensure that we have the staffing available to do that, and that is partially in the overtime portion of the model that we provided. And I think it also, when we're seeing challenges in our communities, we're able to run specific missions to ensure that we're addressing public safety issues, and that is not at the expense of removing any of these patrol deputies from their jurisdiction. I think the detective piece is extremely important. Those 2 detectives in my unit, I have one of the smallest detective units if you look around between our county partners and some of our city partners. Those 2 detectives in this contract will be eliminated. I do not have general fund that just covers additional deputies, sergeants, and civilian professional staff. Those positions are covered in our contracts with our contract cities. And if there's anything you'd like to add,
Sure. I didn't come prepared with remarks tonight, so I'll just be speaking from a couple of things that I've heard. We no longer require a 4-year degree. We ended that a couple of years ago by way of recruitment and as well as a wellness and equity lens. With that being said, currently staffing is something that I look at every single day. We currently have 50 FTE total assigned in patrol. That's in the entire agency, through all of our contract cities and otherwise. That model, it sounds like a lot, but it's never that number. Like today, our actualized working number is somewhere around 39 to 40, and that's because 4 are on leave, on some type of leave, whether that be workers' comp or baby leave, family leave. And then we have 5 that are currently in FTAP or recruit training, 3 at the academy and 2 in training. A couple of months ago, that number was 11. So it's a constant. That being said, we've always staffed all of our contract cities, Troutdale included, with 24/7 coverage, 30 hours per day coverage, because it's 3/10s overlapping with 2-hour overlaps per shift. And we've never fallen short of that in 11 years. There's never been a time that we failed to meet that, no matter what it takes, no matter how much mandatory overtime, no matter how much money is spent paying the backfill, we've always done that. And I'd just probably point out that I think it is not often talked about that in 2015, the sheriff's office essentially absorbed the Troutdale Police Department. Many of those, it's 27, I think, FTE total. I know those weren't all police officers. There was a couple of detectives. I think there were 17, 18 police officers, some record staff, command staff. We absorbed them all into our MCSO family. Many of them still work here today. Many of them are in the executive leadership branch. Some of them you've heard for are retired, like Mr. Vining, who was here, I think, last night. And as the sheriff mentioned, there's not a magical place that we're moving them. So when they say if the contract is dissolved, that we don't have 14 vacancies. So you have to be very creative as to where those folks are going to go and how we're going to handle that through attrition or where they're going to go. But there's not like another division of 14 without the Troutdale contract, our largest contract. That leaves, there's 1 deputy that works on each shift that covers from Multnomah Falls to Fairview. And then Fairview is a current contract city, like it was mentioned earlier, that the resources in Troutdale, absolutely. The resources that you pay for in Troutdale under your Troutdale contract are 100% for Troutdale. They provide mutual aid to and from the other cities, just as those cities under our contract and otherwise provide it. And then when we talk about mutual aid previously with Troutdale had detectives. They had 2 detectives, 3 detectives, depending on the exact year that you look at. Those detectives worked their cases. We, of course, also expect our patrol deputies, line level officers, to investigate domestic violences and serious crimes, but not serious crimes like in Measure 11, homicide, things of that nature. Those do go to detectives. In years past, whether it was Fairview or Troutdale, they had detectives. Mutual aid is mutual. So the Port of Portland is a small jurisdiction within Multnomah County as well. They also have detectives. Those detectives form an accumulative, the East county major crimes team. So when an event happens, then we surge resources to that event, and the coverage is immediate for the first couple, 2 or 3 days, and then the home agency, that's to surge, do the neighborhood canvases, the close video canvassing, all the witness interviews. We surge to that resource, and then everybody goes back and works their caseload, and the home agency remains working. I find it difficult to find a model where you could not have a detective in modern day, in a modern sized city. When we talk about Sandy, they have a detective, and they're on their major crime scene in Clackamas. That's the mutual part. So I sometimes feel like personally in my, in my core when they talk about mutual, we wouldn't go or not go out of a lack of compassion or a desire to see someone fail. We chose this job for a reason. We will go and put ourselves in danger anytime we can. It's a matter of if we'll be able to as the contracts reduce. If this contract is gone and other contracts go away, the resources get spread further and further and further apart. So yes, to answer your question, when I'm the chief and under the sheriff, we will always go. But how quickly we can be there and how much we can provide and how long we can stay isn't a matter of the compassion that we have. It's literally a matter of we have to go back to Troutdale or we have to go back to Fairview where the contract is, or Wood Village where the contract is. The unincorporated areas, there's 2. There's one on the west side at Sauvie Island and one on the east side from the gorge. There's not, the big body of deputies in between are all contract cities. There's you guys, the largest, Fairview, which is second largest, and then Wood Village and Maywood, which is much smaller. So that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has anything.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate the opportunity to clarify.
Thank you so much for attending.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's clear that the sheriff would like to continue services to Troutdale, but we need to decide what we need to do and what we can afford. So, Jeffrey, Jesse, any? Satisfied? I mean,
So we don't have a detective in our plan right now, correct?
That's correct.
How often is a detective skill set utilized on average? I know that's really hard to say, but I guess if we're going to be using someone, I don't know, is it once a week, once a month, times a year? And what does something like that cost from Multnomah County?
Well, the way I was structuring it or thinking of structuring it is have the officers conduct their own investigations, which would, of course, as outlined, would remove them from patrols during those investigative times. But usually, I'm looking at it possibly a little bit differently because I'm looking at it from an efficiency standpoint. I don't see any reason why an officer can't respond to a call, follow up, conduct the investigation, and carry that to court. There's really no reason why an individual officer can't do that, and if they need to hand it off, they can hand it off to their supervising sergeant or the lieutenant. And that's what my proposal proposes. Now, there's something to be said for the status quo and the standard across the industry, which is having those individualized detectives who have that specialty. They've been trained to do nothing but investigative work, and they are highly qualified and very good at what they do. What I'm saying is with our small city model, this is a sufficient model to do and conduct the business that we need to conduct.
I think that answered my question.
yeah, there's no question that we'd be somewhat, we're taking a chance. If we're moving over to our own police, and there's just no question about it. We need to do something, so, but it doesn't have to be that. Anyway, that's the matter that we're considering as a council. This is a work session. I think a lot of valuable ideas and input, and welcome any final thoughts if anyone has any. We're going to have to take it up officially as a council, a regular council meeting soon. How soon, I don't know. But, fairly soon. I mean, the next 6 months, I'd say. Maybe sooner. Mike probably wants direction from us a lot sooner, but I think we're all squirming a little about, well, what's the right thing? So anyway, my sense of this council is that we've been interested in seriously considering forming a Troutdale Police Department. Despite our good relationship with the sheriff's office, we are up against a financial wall, and the sheriff has responded, but in the long run, I can only speak for myself. I think we'll be better off if we do form a police department, but I wish I could be positive. So I'll be thinking about it like all of us. Anybody else have thoughts? Well, hey, it's been exhausting. I think we'll consider a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn this meeting tonight.
Second? All right. All in favor of adjourning this work session, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, we are adjourned.